Ayo, it's CC. We're going to be doing the zero GEO TAS analysis today. It's a new TAS made by someone who isn't me. Wow. Their name is Jarlyk, and they're fairly new to TAS community. It's going to be super cool, super excited. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the video while I introduce things. So the first thing I want to talk about is that it's using the new RNG syncing tooling that I've been talking about on stream recently and stuff like that, that Jarlyk developed. And what it does is it saves the values of RNG that enemies and stuff take and use to decide where they're moving and what attacks they're doing and stuff like that. And so it's built on the foundation of my any percent TAS because the input files for that are public. So if you wanted to make a TAS, you wouldn't have to necessarily do early game or King's Pass or anything, just like Jarlyk did. They just changed out what they needed. And yeah, it's super cool. So what I'm going to be doing mostly in this video is I'm going to be talking about different things with TAS, and a bit of the reaction is going to go away because I've seen this before, because my first recording, which was mostly blind, I didn't have my mic on, so that's lost, sadly, but I will. Okay, so right off the get-go, we have the start of the any percent TAS, because 0 GEO up until Claw is pretty much the same, but you're going to notice that the tooling is going to take effect because Jarlyk is going to dodge GEO, right? Because GEO is obviously something you can't pick up in the 0 GEO TAS. It's not just 0 GEO spent, it's 0 GEO collected. And so they have to change RNG to not get any at the start. Or not change RNG, they have to change movement. And with the RNG tooling, they prevent the RNG from being messed up. So we're going to see that here in the Aspen arena. Some really sick dodges here too. Super clean. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the tooling was developed. So Jarlyk came into the TAS Discord really recently, wanting to work on the grass percent TAS. Yes, you heard me right, grass percent. And as they started learning a bit about how TAS worked, they decided to work on the RNG tooling, which is something we'd always kind of talked about because working with RNG is really hard. So let's say, for example, I'm not going to pause the video much, but I'll pause it here. Let's say I discovered that I want to change the movement in this room. Like, bottom route somehow was faster for some reason. If I wanted to do that, that would change the RNG for the rest of the run, right? And, or another example, if I needed to change the husks here, that would break the entire run. And so that makes it really hard to make and edit stuff if you have mistakes, like the any percent TAS did with the Black Egg Temple and the messed up C-Dash. I couldn't really change the C-Dash because it would break the THK fight. And so the whole point of the RNG tooling is so you can edit and collaborate with other people who can help fix things and whatever. Or in the case of the 0 GEO TAS, they can do all these cool dodges with False Knight, as you can see here, carefully avoiding GEO, and it won't break the rest of the run. Now 0 GEO does kill False Knight, and this poker strat is it's really spicy. I did time it to be slower for the true ending tests, and that's going to be a common theme you're going to notice, is that Jarlyk, not only with like regards to wall cling storage and other things, but they definitely heavily prioritize getting the run out there rather than optimizing every little piece of RNG and stuff like that. Another thing about this task is it is on patch 1.221, and it's no major glitches, and it's the 0 GEO task, but it's focused on kind of cool movement without wall cling storage, so there's not going to be any of the funny shenanigans here. Which means that it's going to be a lot similar to a human run. If I remember correctly, it was like 8 minutes faster than the world record, so definitely lots of time saved. Some of that is obviously because 0 GEO is not as optimized as Pest's any percent time, but oh well. maybe you'll get there one day. So right now we're just going through Mound standard early game. Still have 0 Geo. We'll be able to talk a little bit more about the route and certain decisions as we get further into the run. Because while I didn't really oversee it, I guess, there were times where Jarlyk could post a preview or something. They posted all their segments like I did initially, and I'd point out, hey, maybe this needs to be changed, or other people too. Or not needed, but here's a different way to approach this, right? That is faster, and they'd go back and change it. Like that Aspid Arena that you saw was after me explaining to Jarlyk that the RNG there is really important because you can save/lose a half second. So there's definitely been some things that have been updated because of suggestions, but one of the reasons is because Jarlyk is a pretty fresh TASer. And this, and when I mean fresh, it's like they're new. They haven't been like, they haven't ran the game RTA at all, and so they have a really unique perspective, I guess, which is different from mine because I've obviously spent a lot of time playing the video game before I even test. Now, something worth talking about is, well, the RNG tooling had some issues because there's a reason it hadn't been developed before. So, CMOT and Callista and we've been all talking about the RNG stuff, but Callista and CMOT have definitely been doing the bulk of the work when it comes to tooling and stuff. And they were trying to make this RNG sync tooling before, but for whatever reason, things just weren't working the same way. It didn't matter if you had the RNG the same, things would be different. So there's two parts to that. One is the order of RNG events is different, like it changes. It's random. So not only is like the actions that an enemy does random, but the thing that determines it that is random is also random. So it's like random squared. It's really hard to describe. So one thing that the TAS tooling does is it makes that consistent. So that right there was another change to avoid getting GEO. And so there's going to be small changes here, but with the tooling designed to not only save the RNG values, but the order in which they occur, that makes it so you can do cool dodges and not get any GEO without having to restart. Now, another thing worth noting is that there is another aspect. Physics in this game is determined by a variety of factors, and one of them is something we're referring to now as TFT, or time minus fixed time, which is some lingo basically describing desync in graphics and physics frames. It's something within the Unity engine that we recently discovered, or not we, but rather Jarlyk, in their attempts to make the RNG sync tooling work. Because even with the same RNG, certain things just weren't working. And the Hornet fight was one of them. No one could get this Hornet fight from any percent to work. Hornet's needle throw would always hit you, and it's just a really tight dodge. That one right there would always hit and cause the knight to take damage. And so the new tooling requires you to manipulate that number to match the old one, but a lot of that is been stuff that's like really hidden within the Unity engine, and so Jarlyk's done a ton of work in backend and logs and stuff like that. And then they also made this TAS. So it's all been super cool stuff, and we're really glad and excited to have them in the community. And so you're able to see the any percent TAS, but with a lot of rooms changed to dodge the GEO. And it will all sync up. And it's going to make collaboration on things like 1xx super duper cool. And so that's kind of like the intro, I guess. to the video and the TAS stuff as a whole. I will be making a video later about time minus fixed time, TFT, and frame interpolation, and some more advanced concepts soon. So if you like that sort of stuff, make sure to stay tuned. But I'm not really going to go through it with detail because I'd like to focus on the rest of the tasks, talking about the movement options, because coming up here, we're going to diverge into rooms that are done by Jarlyk and not by me, because a lot of this is, you know, been my stuff. So but one of the things that 0 Geo does that's different from any percent is 0 Geo is going to obviously not pick up lever Geo and also needs to leave this room instead of quit out. So here's all the new stuff. I do think there's potential for a faster pogo there, but that is pretty quick. And then this Mantis setup is obviously different, but it is really cool to see optimal movement with claw and dash without funny wall glitch. Jarlyk didn't do a lot of RNG rolling and stuff. That wall jump at the end is super sick. That's really clean room. I'm going to be implementing some of that in RTA. Back to what I was saying, Jarlyk didn't do a ton of RNG manip on the enemies and stuff. Here's something worth talking about. So originally, Jarlyk was going to hit both the levers, and I said, why not just go back through the gauntlet? And so it was timed that with the early control on that first lever, it was worth to hit the first one, but not the second one. And that's one of the cool things about the tooling, is that you can go back and change things like that, right? Because before, if you wanted to change how the levers were done, that would change the entire run's RNG. But with the tools, Jarlyk was able to go back. And so they had a very different workflow in this task, in the sense that they were able to go back and change things as they learn more. This wall cling storage is one of the fun ones to do. You can do this one RTA, and so that's why it was implemented. The philosophy behind any wall cling storage in this run is, can a human do it? And the answer with that one is, yeah. Elevator wall cling storage is pretty simple to set up for a human. This one as well. Although getting that wiggle is, that's difficult. Now something coming up here is obviously a factor of enemy manip. Not getting a double there, but it doesn't seem to matter long term. So something that you might be wondering about or curious is why the run doesn't get Fury of the Fallen. That seems like it's a really common question. So in this run, we talked about it, Jarlyk and I, because Jarlyk wanted to get it initially, and I was talking, I'm like, well, maybe we don't. And so there's two factors. One is that it really only saves time RTA and making RNG better. Oh, this hell room movement is super fun. I wish I could do it in a run. But it makes RNG like a little bit more consistent for humans, because you can use your nail and not just spells and doubles. But the other thing was what you just saw, that charm tutorial skip. So whenever you pick up your first charm, there's a cutscene. If you get hit out of that cutscene, you skip the charm tutorial. And that's something I'm actually doing at Soulcatcher in the True Ending task. But you can't do that at Fury, and so you have to go through that long cutscene. So that makes it even worth less. And the damage on the spikes was to get control. I gave a few suggestions for this fight, and oh man, it looks so gorgeous. I'm really happy with what Jarlyk was able to do without... Keep in mind, this is no RNG rerolling, right? And this is like faster than my Fury fights sometimes. Not 100%, but really clean, lots of doubles, left side start. You can't, during that early control, you can't fireball or swing your nail. Because if you fireball, it's a major glitch because you get focus storage where you can move while you're casting your spell or healing. Oh, this kill is super cool. I'm gonna pause while it happens. Okay. So you can't cast spells because you get a major glitch, and you can't swing your nail because the game won't let you. Now for that kill that just happened, that second phase with the top, we linked the all skills comm as a suggestion to Jarlyk of, hey, if you do these wall jumps at the top, you can do some really crazy things to Soulmaster. And so I'm really... It's super cool to watch what Jarlyk was able to do. A lot of the TAS stuff was... Jarlyk had an idea, and we're like, that idea is like super cool. Here's another resource of something that might be faster. And Jarlyk was able to take a unique perspective on it and create a really fast run. So I wonder if that nail turnaround is faster. That's actually something I'm curious about. So nail turnarounds, for people who don't know, they save about 0.04 in movement, like horizontally, compared to just holding a direction. So not really worth for humans. That's some really clean movement at the end, getting all the soul. A lot of things that's like really interesting too is when you're new to TAS or just like new to running that Jarlyk has, is that you don't have that bias from like running the game. And obviously there's certain things that are going to be faster for humans that it's just not faster in TAS to do. And so I like come with that bias, if that makes sense. So here's the going back through the gauntlet, which Jarlyk had some different ideas that ended up being faster. That was super cool to see. That wall jump at the end, ah, it's so smooth. And like the way the camera goes, ah, I love it. But because of the RNG tooling, they were able to make that edit, right? And so that's one of the new exciting things for TAS's future. And it also makes rolling for RNG a bit easier. One of the really cool things about meme categories and stuff like Zero GEO is you get that reverse fungal movement, which is super unique. And you're seeing some of the wall jumps you might have noticed. A wall jump after a dash. Wall jumps give a little bit more horizontal momentum than a nail turnaround. They give 15, a nail turnaround's 12, and walking is 8, and dash is 20. And so if you can put them in instead of a walking segment or a nail turnaround, it's really good. One of the really nice things as well about Zero GEO is because there is no stags. You get to see a lot of the just overall cool movement that would normally be slower to do in other ones. I love that movement so much. The wall jumps are really silky smooth. I want to emphasize that not all the movement is perfect, and that's just like a byproduct of not timing everything and spending the time with the RNG manip. I'm definitely not the most meticulous TASer in the world, but I definitely do put a lot of time into trying different things and also have like the RTA experience. Whereas Jarlyk was focused mostly on creating a very visually appealing and cool product that we get to watch today, while also maintaining like, you know, life balance and testing out the tooling and stuff like that. So not everything is perfect, and that's okay. I think having the assumption that TAS has to be perfect is not a particularly healthy mindset. The dog cycle movement's super cool. just because TAS is made by humans and humans aren't perfect. So even with it takes just so much time to get a quote-unquote fastest perfect TAS for most games. Obviously things like Mario where there's not a ton of techniques in order to go faster, it's a little easier, right? Because a lot of Mario is just hold a direction. Like the original Mario games, not newer ones. Some newer ones have like actual horizontal momentum that you can maintain, so. But like the original Mario is definitely lacking in some ways. There's still cool glitches and stuff, it's a lot easier to solve. I love the pogoing the Geo rock and not getting any of the Geo, just that flirt with death, you know. And then this wall cling storage is super fun RTA, I love it. And that dark room movement is, oof, it's spicy. So this is really fun. We talked about this skip. So for humans, it is really difficult to get the crystal aspid up to the D-Dark area to hit you out of the animation on this patch, because it likes to kill itself. Originally, the idea was you have it chase you and you just move left and right and hope it doesn't kill itself, but I talked to Jarlyk and we had this idea of like up slashing it and like forcing it to go up. And so that's what that was that you were seeing. And so by doing that, you skip the D-Dark tutorial. It's worth noting that there's this like misconception that a lot of speedrunners have with like claw and other controls that you need to see the save icon. The save icon is delayed. So you can leave that room and you actually have Descending Dark. And keep in mind, you can get it in the load too, right? It's just as long as you get it before the next room. And so TAS even has the smallest window to get it, right? Because our loads are pretty much instant, so. RTA definitely can sometimes speed it up. Obviously, you run the risk of not getting it, and then you lose your run, so that's why not. This was another cool thing, too, that I want to point out. Because I said Jarlyk didn't time everything, but there were some things that Jarlyk did time. Especially with the fresh mindset. And one is that going over that platform and dashing is just barely faster than going under for TAS. If you just do the tiniest wall jump and you get the dash out. So otherwise it's faster to go under. Then you do get the save quit here into the hot springs bench. So no seer skip, sadly. And then the movement going here is to do Umu. Umu was really hard. I was convinced that you could just do a one cycle with D-Dark, Twister, and no shamans, but that ended up not being the case, and Jarlyk actually made a tool to give the Fury effect mid-run. Like, you could just hit a button and it gives you Fury. Just to test to see if Fury would somehow allow a one cycle, but sadly it doesn't. And what I mean here is that because Jarlyk's not doing wall cling storage, we're not going to see the one shot from Umu. You can technically probably do the one shot without wall cling storage, which is why I do it in the any percent run. But actually doing it and requires you to juggle 2 UMA cores, which is not something that's easy to do. So I haven't done it, and Jarlyk obviously didn't do it either. It's just not worth the IRL time, and so it's just easier to do wall-cling slurge for me, at least. But Jarlyk didn't want to do wall-cling slurge for most of this, and I think it's really cool that they didn't. Definitely not a choice I personally made, because I definitely have a really rigid mindset, I think, when it comes to TAS. Like, try to do the fastest thing. If you can do something faster and you know you can do it faster, just do it. There's been some exceptions, obviously. Especially if something just takes too much IRL time, I would just rather wait to do it later. But this movement up to Monomon so sick. I love it. Now going for the wall cling storage. There, because they didn't think it was run viable. It's a really scary wall cling storage. Go for it, because if you fall and you hit Ismas in a run, that's really bad. It's like several seconds lost. But runners do go for it. I think it'd be really interesting to look at this TAS, right? And have Jarlyk do another one or update it with new strats as they get better at running, or like have someone like me do it, or just like a new person in general, like update it with the new strats and kind of like compare and contrast. I think that'd be super cool with the 90% TAS too, with like a lot of the new like wiggle wall cling slurge and stuff, just to see a progression of like TAS over time. Because I'm working on the true ending TAS right now, and it's been super cool to see how rooms evolve as they get new ideas. Because even if I think something is like really good, when I come back with a fresh mindset and like more experience, it's crazy how many new things I discover, right? And so it's been super cool to see how many new things that Jarlyk discovers as they discover their mindset. It's really cool. So and that's just how TAS is, right? TAS is very it rewards experience quite a bit. Because as you get better with the workflow, this QGA is so sick, by the way. As you get better with the workflow, and you get better at just finding movement and more experience and stuff, it becomes really rewarding in terms of like how fast you're able to move and the things you can discover and time save and stuff. So you can still see the up slash and stuff like that from RNG minute. Doing these Petras without shamans is so annoying. Twister helps at least. But here's like an example of movement right in this room. Jarlyk goes under instead of over, which when I first watched that, it blew my mind. Now it's probably slower, but it's just the fact that I never came up with that idea in the first place. That's just how mindsets are, and so that's why even if you think I would not be good at TAS, you should try it maybe, if you have the patience for it. Obviously it does require a level of patience, but even if you don't run, you're not good at the game, whatever, just having these new ideas is really cool. And you definitely get a lot of growth. Like, my first TAS stuff was really slow. And this dark room movement's super cool, like the dash refreshes off the walls and stuff. And then I think it's sketchier jump. Yeah. For people who don't know, you can either like cancel your C dash before you get to that platform on just the main part, and that's just normal. And then sketchy jump is where you cancel it after falling, and you go to the right and you wall jump up the side of that main platform. And then sketchier jump is where you do what TAS just did, where you cancel your C dash at the very edge. It's like a frame perfect jump. So not easy. It's harder than like QGA or any of the other acid skips. Good old devout skip. Obviously you don't need the GEO, right? So not really a point in killing the devout. It's super cool seeing the beast head movement without wall cling storage done by a TAS. And saving the grub too. I didn't have the heart to do it. And then all the sick geo dodge. And that's like another thing too, right? You can see that Jarlyk dashed to Hera, where C dashing is faster. I know because I timed it. But you wouldn't. It's so much better when more people work on TAS stuff because we can share that knowledge, right? That early control, for instance, wasn't found in the any percent TAS, but you can like quit out Dreamers and it saves a bit if you do the Dream Now early control. That was found pretty recently by Scruffy. That ended up being faster. And so it just helps if we have more people. So if you're interested in this stuff and you're like, wow, all this movement looks sick, or all the stuff you're saying is cool, or whatever, I would highly, highly recommend you check out TAS Discord. I'll link it in the description. And you should join around. You don't have to do any full game stuff, because with the new tooling, it's like cool to collaborate and stuff. And if you have knowledge about how to code or anything like that, that's super useful. If you just want to make TAS, that's super useful. If you just want to see TAS stuff done and hear and talk about TAS, if you like, you know, just hearing me talk about all these cool TAS concepts, you think the game's just as fascinating as I find it, you should just join TAS Discord. Reverse Dark Deepness is, it's super cool. It's not something you get to do in low percent. Low percent, you just go through the one way over to a distant village. But there's so much stuff, like for instance, like the light route is slower doing going up here rather than going back left and doing dark rooms. But obviously that was hard to do in RTA, and so when Jarlyk was making the TAS based off of Blue's run, they like missed stuff like that, and that's why we just need more people. So because sharing this knowledge is really important, because it takes quite a bit of time to get. So if you're interested, please do help out. So I love this run so much. It's just so fun to watch. Whenever you make a TAS, it's like baking a batch of cookies, right? It takes a lot of time and work, and it's still fun to do, right? And you get to make the cookies you want. And if the cookies turn out bad, you know it's your fault, which is annoying and frustrating, but you get better at making cookies. But it's also really good when someone else just bakes the cookies for you, and you get to just eat them. And that's what this is like, it's just eating the cookies. When you first start tassing, it's just so... I can't even describe the feeling of just watching back your work. It's so cool. Like, I was so obsessed with just watching back my TAS stuff. I would just watch it maybe like 3 or 4 times back. It depends on the segment too. There's certain things that it's just like mesmerizing to watch, so... Really interesting experience. But until recently, I never got the pleasure of like really watching a ton of other people's Hollow Knight TAS stuff. Like obviously I see stuff like Path of Pain TAS and the P5 TAS and stuff like that. And I did get to see Callist's TAS, because they TAS some any percent segments. because they were gonna work on the 90% task, but couldn't because of time stuff. So that's why I ended up doing it. But I haven't gotten to see full TASs for quite a while. Or, I mean, not even full, but just like other people tassing in general. This Watcher Knights fight turned out really good. Jarlyk went back and did it with the tooling and stuff because the first fight didn't have the best RNG, so Jarlyk did some re-rolling for it. One of the reasons that you don't see as many slash inputs as you do in the 90% task, right? If anyone's curious, is because Jarlyk uses the RNG tooling to do RNG manip. So there's an input that you can press to re-roll RNG rather than what I have to do if I'm not using the tooling, right, is I have to swing up or down or jump or do a different thing. But Jarlyk can press a button and get different RNG with the tooling. So that's one of the nicer things. So if you thought RNG manip was like really tedious and you didn't want to do it because, you know, getting the beautiful fight that you just saw there might take too long, the new tooling does solve some of that. So we're going to be using it for 1XX. It's looking like it's going to be 106%, which is max completion on 1221. Just because funny wall glitch and some other stuff. But there is plans to do 112 and all that fun stuff in the future. So if that's something you want to be a part of, don't worry about the RNG. It's gotten so much better. What you see me do on stream, if you watch my stream, which you should, at twitch.tv/constructive cynicism, what I do a lot on stream is a lot more tedious because I am not using the tooling, right? But the tooling does speed things up quite a bit with the workflow, so. I always found it like really funny how the main menu doesn't update the background properly whenever you get the hard saves, and so it shows that you're in deepness even though you're at Lurian. And then it's always so weird to just skip the Watcher's chest and the GEO and crap. Because in runs you would normally get that stuff because it's really fast GEO. Since like every full game run has to do Watchers. Or every run that beats THK has to do Watchers. But this run beats THK, it has to do Watchers, but it's like one of the few runs that doesn't need the GEO. Like even something like any percent no main menu storage, you get the GEO for a distant village stack with it, so. Or true ending gets a bit of it. Even if you don't get the seal, getting the chest is really fast. That movement in Kings is so clean. I love this climb up. It's really fun to watch. In low percent, it's actually faster to take all the elevators because you don't have dash. Can't go zooming. Which, speaking of low percent, is something Jarlyk's been talking about doing next. Which I'm super excited for. Like, as a world record of the holder of the category, I was kind of interested in tassing it myself. But I found things I wanted to task more. But it'd be super cool to see a TAS in general. And then something that I didn't even think about when I was watching this category for the first time is you can use Resting Ground Stag to Dirtmouth because the Resting Ground Stag is free, right? And then this Fire Bell is also faster too, which is just crazy. So there's definitely lots of treats of optimization. I love the run. And sorry if it's not like what you were expecting with like the hard pog reaction or like, wow, they did what? Or the movement stuff. Because part of it's already like I've seen it, and so I'm just talking about TAS as a whole and certain things about this TAS, but if you want that kind of content of wow and crazy reactions, there's definitely other ones on YouTube. Like I think Blues is likely pretty good. I haven't watched it, but I remember Blues to Mine was really, you know, super cool. I don't know. Watching people react to your stuff it's super neat. Like sharing that experience, I guess. But yeah, we're already at the final boss. Been ranting for quite a bit now. But a lot of the commentary was meant to be more insightful, talking about the process as an insider and talking about that stuff rather than focusing on the actual events of what was happening. Just meant to be more analysis and informative. I kind of, on the initial take of the video, the one I did that had my mic muted, I was a bit more critical of a lot of the time saves and stuff, but I realized that wasn't really the coolest stuff you could get out of the video. Now that scream skip at the end was super cool. So something worth talking about this fight is that Jarlyk was able to do it with only 2 screams instead of 1, which is super cool. I mean, 2 screams instead of 3, sorry. He did first scream skip. That was a really good fight. Time ended up being 36-37. Super great run. Now, there is a version of the video with a cool input display that I recommended to Jarlyk to look into, because it's one I wanted to do for the ending percent, but couldn't because I didn't have the coding knowledge or talent to make it. And there's also like a GEO cam where you can see the close calls and dodges and stuff like that. So I recommend you check that out, because Jarlyk put a lot of work into it. You can get some really cool moments, especially if you're curious about any of the inputs or anything. And then Blue's run is also, or Blue's commentary is also probably pretty exciting. I know mine's probably more of a boring rant, but it's definitely meant to be targeted, I guess, towards people who are, you know, is fascinated by the deeper ends of TAS and stuff like that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the commentary and things. Make sure to check out Jarlyk, the good old TASer that I'm sure you've heard me say a few times, who made this. I don't think they're streaming or anything yet. They might in the future, who knows? But they're super cool. Make sure to check out TAS Discord if you're interested in hearing about this stuff. And if you've got ideas as well for TAS and all that, that's where you would help talk about it. If you're curious about tools as well, we use like libtas on Linux and stuff like that, and we can tell you how to get set up there. Overall, I think the run was super fantastic. It's entertaining, and that's one of the like primary purposes of a TAS, which is something that a lot of people overlook. They're like, what's the fastest possible time, stuff like that. One of the primary purposes of a tool-assisted speedrun is for entertainment. And so even if it's not the fastest possible time, which it's definitely not, people need to focus on the entertainment, right? So, but it's definitely a very fast time, especially one that humans could only hope to ever achieve, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while I give, you know, final wrapping stuff. Shoot, what was I going to say? I swear I had more stuff. Yeah, I plan on doing more videos about TAS and stuff on my channel, so make sure to check that out. Check out Stream if you're interested in watching me make TAS, because I do that live. And then I'm also posting teasers about the true ending TAS as they go along, whether it's like a meme or like a clip or something. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to be doing stream highlights as well. So if you like that sort of content, that's what I'm going to be focusing on, as well as doing RTA runs, because I'm also a speedrunner. And Shoot, trying to think if there's anything else to plug. No, I really do think that wraps it up. Jarlyk did just a fantastic job on the TAS. So, thank you all for watching. Make sure to check out all the stuff I talked about. And hope you found analysis commentary informative. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.